Yeah, I heard you, man. Get this thing set up right here, man. Just, all right. Get to this text here. Let me get to it. Got this. Good afternoon. Good morning to some. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing okay. We're just waiting for Brother Chris to get on, then we're going to start this show. Should be a really good one today. I believe it will be. Yeah. What up, Greg? Good to see you. I just saw you, man, like what, an hour ago? We got to start meeting like this, man. Yeah. Good morning. Good afternoon to some people. Good morning to others. As soon as Brother Silvera gets on, man, we're going to go ahead and start this show. Happy Labor Day weekend to everybody. This is our weekend. This is Labor's weekend. I see Chris is on. Let me go to the thing here. All right. Uh-oh. I just saw him. I think he went away. Where we at? Hey, Chris, I saw you when you went away. Here we go. Oh, it says no answer from video live guest. All right, come on, man. I don't know why this thing does this. You may have to request to be added, Chris. Nope, no answer again. Good morning, man. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good to see everybody coming in before the cookout start. Happy Labor Day, pre-Labor Day. Hope everybody enjoys it. You know, we're gonna be marching in the parade tomorrow here in Philly with the AFL-CIO 623. Hey, Chris has said there's no answer. Oh no, what's up with that? Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah, it keeps saying no answer from live video guest, Chris. I guess they know what's about to happen, man. So they trying to keep us from doing this show today, man. What's going on? This never happened before. All right, try to send a request again, Chris. But what do you guys think about the debate while we're waiting for Chris, man? What was some of you guys thoughts, man, and everything that was said, what went on? What did you guys think? I thought it was very interesting. A lot of cringe-worthy moments, and we'll talk about them later on. And I think everybody knows what we're talking about. Some good stuff. I'm glad it wasn't a lot of kneecapping going on, a lot of mudslinging. I really did appreciate that because you don't want to have a whole lot of that. I know there's going to be some stuff where. Here we go, Chris. It looks like it might be working now. Yeah, Ruben, I agree. It was good to see, not a fill-in person coming in and debate. I appreciated that too, man. That was good. Mr. Silvera,
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
what's happening?
Man, living this Teamster life, brother.
I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. So we're gonna jump right into it. You know, so September the 1st was the first of three scheduled debates. The next debate is September the 14th in Las Vegas at the Teamsters Women's Conference. And then for the first time ever, you're going to have a debate between the two general secretary treasurer candidates in Chicago. I believe that is correct me if I'm wrong, anybody knows. I believe it's September the 29th. I
Yes,
believe that's what it is.
that's what it
So
is.
the first debate has happened. So what do you think about that first debate before we get into the details of it?
Interesting debate. I thought it was a good debate. I said, like, no kneecapping. I thought they tried to address the issues. And my takeaway was that on style, uh, Sean looked much better. Substance, I think Verma was there, but I certainly think that style. But also, I had somebody else watch it someplace else, and they thought that Sean had a very Trumpian persona. So I don't know what that means, but certainly I think one on style and one I thought prevailed on substance. But I wanted to read something because I think people listening to this show needs to understand, because most of them probably have never even seen the Constitution of the Teamsters. If you don't mind, I'd like to just read a piece of
Go
it.
ahead. Oh yeah.
The International Brotherhood of Teamsters was formed in 1903, and I just want to remind people that prior to that, there were two competing national unions. And prior to those, Teamsters as guilds before they became unions go all the way back into the colonial period by representatives of independent local unions who had the foresight to recognize that the ability of each local to provide assistance to its members could be improved by the formation of a great labor organization which pooled its resources and talents of the individual locals. In creating the foundation for what has become the largest trade union in North America, those local unions agreed to subordinate some of their individual independence in order to obtain services, support, and expertise, which none alone could provide, but which all could obtain through coordinated action by the International Union. Now, I want to just go forward with this. In entering this new relationship, the local unions preserved their autonomy and identity and structured an international based upon the concept that the heart of the locals are the members. The heart of the locals are the members, is the membership, and that the core of the international must be its locals. As the local unions must reflect the interests of their members, so too must the international union be responsive to the needs of the locals which brought it into existence. The local unions and the international recognize that the interests of the membership are at the core of their relationship. The local unions and the international commit to serve the interests of the membership by maintaining a union that is strong, democratic, and free of corruption. So it's important that when we talk about these million voters voting, the heart of this union is its membership. And if the membership, the heart stop beating, then the body is going to rot. And people need to understand the power of the membership. The founding leaders understood this. If you go to that 1903 formation of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, there are blacks sitting, not standing, to the left and to the right of Cornelius Shea, who was then the general president.
Right.
No black in 1903 in a house full of white folks is sitting to the left and to the right of the general president unless they wielded power. They weren't some Mickey Mouse black dudes. They had power. And so when we're talking here, we're blaming this and blaming that. It is the membership that bears the ultimate responsibility to make sure this union is on the right path.
I agree. We talk about it all the time on this show, and we talk about it when we see each other. We talk about it when we go to our rallies. We talk about it when we, just in conversation, that the members are the power of this organization. It's not me. It's not you. It's not anybody running for office. It's our most important. It's the most important group. It's the members. That's where the power is at. That's where the power is at. And no matter who wins this election, if the people are not engaged and involved, you lose, Chris. I lose. Everybody watching this loses. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of our members going to work hard every day, the people making billions of dollars off our backs, and then we don't get to see what that means. We don't have the power that we should have, because for whatever reason, I think our leaders have told us that they are the ones that have the power, and it's not us. And we got to change that dynamic. And this debate, a lot of questions was asked. Some of them I were like, wow, I can't believe that they asked those questions. One of the questions that I don't even know why what was asked was this 2/3 rule question that already been abolished. And so I'm hoping the next debate that we have more input, if not all input, from Teamster rank and file members. We're going to be the ones that's living by the contracts. We're going to be the ones that's going to the meetings. We're going to be the ones that's going to have to live and die with whatever the candidate who wins their choice. So whoever's watching this, whoever listening to this, please make a concerned effort. Make a concerned effort to get more Teamster involvement in these questions. Nothing against the panelists, nothing against Miss Lisa Matthews. Listen, if you want to use her again as a moderator, that's fine, but make sure that you get some people that are Teamsters to have the questions, because some of that stuff was like the AFL-CIO question. I didn't understand it. The change the win stuff. That has a lot of people don't even know who those organizations are. Like, why are we talking about that stuff, man? We need to talk about the day-to-day operation. Hey, Mr. O'Brien, Mr. Verma, who is going to be the warehouse director? Mr. Verma, Mr. O'Brien, who's going to be the small package director? Those are kind of questions that we need to be asked at this next debate. Who's going to be the freight director? Who's going to be this? Who's going to be that? Who's going to be in charge of your Human Rights and Diversity Commission? Who's going to, we need to know these kinds of questions, these kinds of answers, because those concerns are very, very important. Listen, the AFL-CIO, God bless them, but they're not going to be the ones negotiating the next UPS contract. They're not. Change the wind, they're not going to be negotiating that contract, or the next freight car haul. They're not going to be in those negotiations. So hopefully, we get some better people. So what did you think about that, man? What do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, I thought some of the questions, so some of them I'm not sure you can really ask and get an answer, like who's going to be the freight director, who's going to be the small package. It might actually be illegal under the rules of the election to.
Oh, okay.
However, it also shows you, and I'm coming back to this July 4th debate. See, the debate of July 4th was a debate in which you were going to talk directly to the rank and file membership, and they don't like that. Only one person showed up. They like when these moderators, see, these people are journalists, and they're imbued with this trip up, try to trap you, catch you type of thing like that. But I was struck by a couple of things. One of them is that if you never got suspended from office, then that means you ain't doing nothing. You understand what I'm saying? And I thought that my takeaway of that was, I was like, wait a minute, so I need to get suspended for a couple of months, and then that means I'm doing something? I use the analogy of football. You can actually be a pretty good player, but if you throw enough interceptions, or if you get called for too many penalties, your liabilities could outweigh positive benefits that you bring to the game. So to me, when you get suspended, that's a penalty. And I want to just remind people about one thing, because these just things that struck me as I listened to him. He didn't get suspended for threatening an employer. He got suspended for threatening another member. Okay? I was at the convention and watched the behavior of these people when TDU got up to speak. And I've watched this from Tom Leadham all the way through. And let me tell you something. Never in my life did I ever think that that was the way we were supposed to act. I hated it when they did it to Tom. And I wasn't no Tom Leadham supporter. But that brother is a Teamster. He paid dues like I paid dues. He got rights. Members in my local union that beef against me, I can't be mad at them. That's their right. I got to look into myself and see, am I doing the right thing? You know what I'm saying? Are they telling me something I should be aware of? And that was my takeaway from that whole conversation right there.
Yeah, that kind of struck me too. When he said that, you know, he got suspended for the bullying and the retaliating and all that stuff for people wanting to use their voice, and then he was like, "Well, I'm an athlete. I'm a competitor, and sometimes those things happen." And that kind of struck me because I'm like, that's not right, man. And then his explanation to Verma, who's not squeaky clean either, you know, he's not squeaky clean either, for him to say, well, you never did anything, that's why you never got suspended. I didn't agree with that, but listen, this is ugly, dude. But
I don't think you could be doing what we do for 25 or 30 years and not get some scars someplace. I don't walk away from this scar free.
Right.
Being scarred up is different than, so if you got suspended because you choked the crap out of the chairman of UPS, he wouldn't do it now because she's a woman, but you know, I'm using this in a kind of
right.
Then we could understand that, and we would actually rally around that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that was not the case. So there is no case of you threatening an employer or an employer's representative. These are issues of you against your own kind, your own Teamster member. But the other takeaway I had, though, was also the one where the four guys were got in trouble with the law and they had to go to court. And he said they represented and paid for the 3 of the 4 of them. And I just wondered who was the 4th one and why they didn't pay his legal bills. But that being said, I thought it was a good debate. Hopefully the other one will be inclusive of the membership, and they will allow the membership to step up unrehearsed and ask raw questions.
Yeah.
You know, and have the answers come like that. And I hope that that's what happens and why they chose to do it at the women's conference. You know, so hopefully we'll see that there.
Yeah, I agree. I just hope there's some better questions, some more questions from the Teamster rank and file. I'm really hoping that happens. But the biggest thing out of the whole night, which I was really shocked at, was the amount of diversity and race questions that were, you know, asked at this debate. And I thought that was really, really, I couldn't believe it. And there was another question that I really want to get your take on this, because you've been around a lot longer than I have. One of the panelists asked both candidates, he said, hey, man, listen, I've been coming to these debates for many, many years. And for whatever reason, you know, when there is someone challenging the other person, they all come from the same faction, so to speak. It's never like a totally brand new candidate. So what is your take on that? Because I thought that was a really good question. I really did.
I did. I thought that probably might have been the most crucial question at the time, right? So one of the things that happen, if you look at most of these slates, generally speaking, historically speaking, they're people from large local unions, joint council presidents, by and large. Very few of them come from smaller locals and what have you like that. And so you have to have that kind, I suspect you kind of have to have that kind of presence to be able to say you want to challenge, that you have the wherewithal to call upon other people to raise money. So if you're a joint council president, then all the locals in your joint council, all the members in the joint council are going to then in their locals raise money for you and so forth. I think a piece of it is economic, but in recent time, people have run, this happens in local unions. People split up, you know, in this case, they would, you know, Jim is going to retire and people decide to, you know, this is now my opportunity to run. You know, Local 25 have had the most general presidents in the history of the union.
Right, right.
So my sense is if you become the principal of Local 25, you think there's some inheritance, you're written into a will someplace that gives you the right to be general president. But I wanted to hit on something else. They talk about this, I'm a fourth generation Teamster, right? And that actually portends a certain amount of privilege, right? Most of us are first generation Teamsters, right? So to have, you know, oh, my dad was here, that's how you get in these industries, right? You get in the construction industry, in the movie industry, these well-paid industries, you tend to have legacy rights, you know, so people need to also understand what that means when they say I'm a fourth generation. You know, there are very few of us that have fourth generation type of legacy here. Maybe our dad was a Teamster, but most of us don't have that privilege. We are first generation and at best second generation Teamsters. And if you look at the industries where you really see that, you see that in these construction industries and whatnot, that predominantly white, as if to say blacks don't like cement and mixing cement, and,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and in the movie industry, as if to say somehow we are incapable of driving these movie trucks around, you know. So some of that has, but they could talk about the diversity of the boards they're put together, and whoever wins, it'll be the most diverse board. I want to know how you look at home, right? Is your local diverse? Do you have black people on your general executive board? Do you have black people as business agents in your local? Because that's the real test, right? That's the real test, right? This is a big picture thing, and really the international does not day-to-day affect the lives of a million Teamsters, right? It's the local unions that do,
Right.
right?
Right.
How does your local union look? So I see you at the car wash, man. You vacuuming your car, man. I'm going to say Cadillac because it's American made, but most likely with our members, it's a BMW, right? But they're vacuuming their cars and they're polishing and waxing and what have you on the weekend. But if I went home with you, your living room is dusty, right? Your kitchen is full of pots and pans, right? That's the real you. Not the BMW where you're going out tonight to impress some girl, you know, or some guy, right? Your living room, your kitchen, that's the real you. So I want to know how their locals look. Do they have diverse executive boards in their local union? Because that's the real test of what your mindset is.
Right. I agree with that. It all starts at home. That preacher that I often listen to down in Houston, he had this analogy about how, you know, when kids go to school and they act a fool at school, and crime happening all out in the street and all this other kind of stuff. But he also said before your child gets to school, before he gets out into the street, he has to leave home first. So whatever is at home is the most important thing before you get out there, before you put out there, yo, this is me, 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 me. No, who you are is where you are at home. That's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that really got to me in this debate, and we'll get to the whole tokenism thing a little later on, but this whole thing, when there was some back and forth, I know Mr. O'Brien was talking to Mr. Verma about, hey, Steve, when this was going on, you didn't say this and you didn't say nothing. You went along with it. And I agree with that. But I also agree and want to understand, well, if Mr. Verma was going along with it, Mr. O'Brien was sitting right there with him, going along with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, you know, he was standing up and speaking up either. Again, 2017, what did he say? He knew for years that Hoffa was no good. He was an absentee landlord. So the point of finger at Mr. Verma about, hey, you didn't stand up, you didn't say nothing. Well, you were right there with him as well. That part, and he said it a few times, and I could never understand that. The rank and file in me wanted to scream out from the audience and say, hey, man, you was there with him too.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted to say, you know?
Well, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And I was just going to say that both of them, both Verma and Sean O'Brien, both of them were appointed to the General Executive Board in 2011.
Okay.
Right? Both of them made the general appointed or voted on, however it went. Both of them got onto the General Executive Board in 2011. And so the fact that they've both been there for now, what is 10 years, right? Any gripe about organizing Amazon or doing any of those things, you both share it equally. You know what I'm saying? And if I didn't say something to you, and I'm a Teamster, and if you said, man, I'm going home to face this thing, and I might get in trouble or whatever like that, I'm gonna say to you, man, hey, you know, I hope you make out, you know, I hope you get through this without a problem. Because at the end of the day, comes back to what I talked about, that local union autonomy. That's a local 25 issue, right? Which is separate from what happens at the IBT. The IBT is a national issue. That was a local 25 problem. And probably Steve says, hey, man, good luck with your with your troubles and what have you like that, right? So that would not be unusual. You know, once you join a team, you kind of, you know, if you're playing for the Raiders, you're a Raiders guy. You know, even if your player member was wrong in starting the fight, we all clear the benches together, right? That's kind of like how we do it. It's up to the referees to kick somebody out or kick the other person out, what have you, like that. So I didn't think much of that. I think that was, but both of them been there for 10 years, and whatever squawks and squabbles, and that's why I don't like this insider outsider thing. Both of you were there. Whatever good, bad, or indifferent about Jimmy Hoffa, both of you saw it, and nobody squawked. But let me just say one thing in defense of J.B. Hoffa. And it goes to this Butch Lewis Act that I tell people, somebody should do the math. I don't know what the math is. But if you took the value of a 20% cut in pensions for active retirees, and then said that through the Butch Lewis Act now they were able to protect that 20%, that has an economic value. And I'm going to tell you, if Jimmy slept for the past 20 years and just got that one thing right, yo, I love it. You understand what I'm saying? You know, it's not the guy that caught just one touchdown, but that was the touchdown that won the Super Bowl for that one team. And, you know, I think sometimes we don't respect how difficult it is, the job that we do. I think people look and they see you, they see me, they see Sean, Steve, whatever, and I don't think the average member recognizes how difficult this thing is. The union has shrunk to the point where we're 7% of the private sector. and we don't have a national voice, right? Most people don't read the Teamster magazine. I really don't read it too tough myself because it's boring. It's not as years ago. It used to be interesting. In the post James P. Hoffa world, I find it to be very boring and very self-serving, and doesn't really do critical analysis of good things and bad things, right? So I'm really very bored with it. So I might skim through it or whatever. But I think that both of them are there, and both of them are equal to anything. I didn't see none of them blowing no trumpet saying Jimmy Hoffa sucked. And I tell you, if Jimmy Hoffa was running again, they would all be lined up with Jimmy Hoffa and trying to beat down TDU. So I don't want to hear it.
So tokenism. So it came out during the debate. One of the panelists was talking about race and diversity, and Mr. Verma had said something about the odds people, some of the candidates being tokens. Right before that, Mr. O'Brien said, "Hey, I have one Latino on my ticket."
Mm.
The problem is Verma used the word token, O'Brien didn't. But it exposed a big problem that's been going on in our organization for forever. Like when both candidates said Black Lives Matter, I'm sitting in the audience and all I could do was just like, ooh, it just didn't sound, nothing against them.
Yeah.
It just didn't sound right. I'm not saying it wasn't genuine. It was cringeworthy because, you have two white men saying Black Lives Matter, and then you look at the organization that they are intended to lead, and it's not reflected in that statement and in the totality and what it means.
Right.
So in 1982, I was 2 years old. There is a picture in my union hall, and in the back it has this picture of the 1982 General Executive Board. When you look at that picture, it looks almost the same as the picture today.
Yeah.
All white men.
Yeah.
One black man. Chris, how many black men do we have on the GEB today in 2021?
One.
Yeah. Same as it is in 1982.
Yeah.
And that's a problem because when you look at our general makeup, 60 to 65, 70% of Teamsters look like you and I.
Mm.
But it's not reflective of what you see in the leadership, not just in the GEB, but the local level.
That's true.
The joint council level, the conference level, or the GEB. So let me give you some numbers. 400 locals, 400 plus locals. You got 21 black principal officers, or I would say people of color, which include Latino workers as well, leaders as well. 21 out of 400 plus. That's a problem. 19 female, 19 male, 2 females. You got 5 in the central, 10 in the east, 4 in the south, and as big as the west is, you just got 1 black. Just 1.
Mm.
Just 1. Guess how many joint council presidents of color?
1.
0.
Ooh.
34 joint council.
Wow.
34 joint council presidents. 0. 0. That's a problem. That is a problem.
Joint Council 55 doesn't have a black head of that joint council?
In
DC?
In DC?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just got the numbers that someone gave me. So, we can definitely check it out.
It could have changed because Furleen was the last one that I knew.
Right.
And it could be now that Local 639's principal is now the head of the joint council. So I don't know for a fact I've really kept up. But I want to say something to that question. I think if you look at the West Coast, Like when I go to California, I'm in northern Mexico. So I think you're going to see more Hispanic leadership in the West, right? But I think that African Americans, let me rephrase that. Africans in America have to be willing, and Dr. King spoke about this very articulately, have to be willing to take on the responsibility. So we cry about that we're not there, but when given the opportunity to be there, we tend to shy away.
Yeah.
And so we're not doing the work. You had to do some work to become the principal officer of 623. Eric Tate had to do some work to become the principal officer. Most principal officers, regardless of color, the women had to do real work to become the heads of their local unions, right? So when blacks shy away, you can't wonder why you're not there. You know, we are a bunch of scaredy cats by and large, and I don't mean it to be offensive, but when you take on your role as a principal officer, you get more darts than you get a pat on the back.
Yeah.
There are more knives stuck into you than there are flowers handed to you, right? And so we don't like that. So we don't like that criticism. We like to criticize, but we don't like
Yeah.
the people who, and I tell you, I go back with people like Phil Feaster and so forth like that, Bob Simpson. These were bold cats, right? These were people that really stood out in the crowd. And we really had a lot of black leaders, Jimmy Collins, Arthur Busby. And by and large, even when we become leaders of black locals, we disappear. We don't exalt ourselves. We don't go in. So in other words, and I'm going to use this Hoffa executive board right here. Teamsters National Black Caucus built up enough pressure in this union to actually make them create 2 vice presidents. We lost them, okay? So we actually had at one point 2 vice presidents and 1 trustee. Now we're back to what we were in 1975 with the one vice president, right? The people that were on the board did nothing to protect those gains. You understand the point I'm saying? They did not come out and call up all the other principal officers and say, hey, listen, man, there's some things going down. We're going to lose these spots. You got to come down. Even Claude Brown, who was the chairman of the Black Caucus at a point in time, even Claude Brown had a demonstration in front of the International. You understand the point I'm saying? Where was Black leaders' demonstration in front of the International demanding that those gains be there? And I'm going to tell you something. And I know Juan Campos, and I like Juan. I think Juan is a very nice fellow and everything, runs a good local and everything like that. The number of Hispanics in this union, there should be more than 1 Latino. There should be more than 1. Okay? And if you can't see that, then there's something wrong. You understand the point I'm saying? And that's what I'm looking at. And that's why I said, go back into their home locals and see whether or not they have diverse boards, whether they have black business agents and what have you, and then come back and tell me about what you're doing at the International. But I'll tell you this, because I was struck by the same thing with the Black Lives Matter, and I thought about this as we were speaking. I wonder how many of them participated in the Black Lives Matter strike. March.
March, right.
You understand what I'm saying? How many of them actually vocalize and verbalize that support as opposed to support for the police? You understand what I'm saying? Where were they when Philando Castillo a Teamster from Local 320 in Minnesota got killed by the police. You understand? I didn't hear that, right? So don't tell me about you support Black Lives Matter because you don't have the receipts to speak like that. And that goes for both parties, right? Neither one of them have no that I know about. Maybe they marched and I didn't know. But I want to see, show me some video clip where you marched in support of Black Lives Matter. I'm pretty sure if I sat in your living room, that was not the conversation you had with your peers. You were saying something very different about Black Lives Matter in your house. So don't tell me that. Is the diversity a push forward? Sometimes the diversity can be a hindrance. Dr. King spoke about the fact that during this, and it's going back into the 60s now, that this tokenism created an even worse buffer, right? So they put Clarence Thomas on the board, but if Clarence Thomas is doing everything a Klansman is doing, I don't need Clarence. He ain't a black man no more. You're a Klansman. You see the point I'm saying? So they put this black man, and what it did when they were pushing Clarence Thomas, the NAACP.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
They're focusing on race, right? This is not about race. This is about the issues, where you stand on matters, you know, and if you're standing with the Klan, I don't care what color you are, you're a Klansman, you know, Dr. Ben Carson, right? I don't know black that served in Trump's administration could ever come and tell me anything to justify being there. Forget about it. You understand the point I'm saying?
Yep.
This is what people have to understand. So where you stand is important. Did I see you? We just had a Labor Day thing yesterday because here in New York, they canceled any Labor Day activity through the Central Labor Council. We marched with rank and file workers, Amazon workers that are trying to organize out in Staten Island and what have you like that. And Local 808 was out there, and Transport Workers Union was out there and what have you like that. But where is the rest of labor? Even though this guy's doing something that is akin to climbing Mount Everest in the middle of a winter snowstorm, right? We should still give him support. We should still let those workers know that even having an independent union beats not having a union at all. And we got to get out of these little pockets and broaden our horizon and start to really stand powerfully for all workers, regardless of their choices.
Yes.
You understand? Yep. And that's where we got to be. So yesterday we had a march. We marched on Phipps, which is I just found out is apparently one of the worst landlords in terms of evicting people and what have you. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they own a couple of housing complexes where we represent those workers. And I was unaware of this until yesterday. And so now we got to find out, you know, what can we do to address Phipps about their behavior, right? And then we marched up to Jeff Bezos's penthouse again and raised living hell at Bezos's penthouse. And this was another way of saying, we're not done with you, Jeff. You know,
right.
The moon, the next time you ought to try to stay up there. Because
don't come back down, huh? I hear you.
Not here, because we still hunting you down.
So I was at the debate, and I saw Lisa Matthews, who was the moderator. She asked Mr. Verma about that token term, and it was like I said, token, that the word token and the N word are just you just can't use that word. So when I'm coming home, because I man, it was like a gut punch, man. I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. So I'm coming home from the building because at the debate, I went to UPS, check on the people, and I'm coming home and I'm thinking about it. And I was so frustrated. I said, man, I cannot believe that, that he used that term. I was so frustrated. that when I got home, I put my keys into the door, forgot the keys were there, because all I could think about is, man, why did he use that word token? You gotta know what that word means. So I left my keys out on the door, so anybody could have just walked in my house. So that Thursday, the day after the debate, I get a phone call, Hooker. Hey man, how do you feel about that token term? You've been a black man, Mr. Verma's calling you a token. So I said, I feel the same way that I feel about the token. I said, I feel the same way, but when I saw Mr. O'Brien saying that you should be punished for using your voice, I feel the same way. Wrong is still wrong. Token, BIM, all that stuff is wrong. But we do have to come to an agreement or come to a solution that we got to get rid of tokenism and racism, racial inequality in the Teamsters Union. It has no place here. So what I did was I did some research on tokenism. So in 2018, the Vanderbilt School, the graduate school, they did a study on tokenism. I just want to read just a part of it. It says, there are 3 components to preventing tokenism: diversity, equity, and inclusion. Diversity means having students or staff from a variety of backgrounds, including ethnicity, race, gender, and socioeconomic class, sexual orientation. Equity ensures that everyone has equal access to resources, salaries, networking, and mentors. And I really want to focus on that equity for a moment. Equal access. Those 2 words, equal access. So, especially when it comes to black officers and white officers, we don't have equal access, and there is a racism part when it comes to it. And that's why you see the tokenism in the Teamsters. Let me give you an example, and this just happened in May. So in May, everybody knows I put out 2 letters to the candidates about having a debate. It was met with a lot of criticism, a lot of pushback, which is fine. I didn't care. But it just proves the point that we're getting ready to make about equal access, equity. So I'm a black principal officer from Philadelphia. I believe we have the largest local in Philadelphia, and we paid the largest per capita in Philadelphia, right? So we put out these 2 letters to both candidates, and we saw what happened. Man, it was just crazy on social media. Some of the stuff I was reading and seeing, I just couldn't believe it. If this is about the members and getting them, in front of the candidates, then it shouldn't have been all this foolishness. Black principal officer from Philadelphia. Another principal officer from Philadelphia had a debate in Atlantic City during the convention. It wasn't met with not a lot of criticism. They weren't talking about having the OES there. It wasn't none of that. What's the difference? We both from Philadelphia. My local pays more money per capita tax than he does. I'm black. He's white. Why was it met with such criticism? Why? Because there is a problem deeply rooted in tokenism and racism and racial inequality in this Teamsters organization. That right there is one of the biggest examples of what we're talking about when it comes to this tokenism and racism and all that. We both did the same thing. We wanted the same thing, but one was met with a lot of criticism, a lot of hate, just foolishness all the way around. But the other one, oh man, that's cool. Let's go ahead and have it. That should have never happened, but you see it, and everybody saw it. But we need to fix it.
So
you on me? There you go.
Tokenism really, the only thing is not you. And I think token.
Hey Chris, you keep fading in and out.
I'm going to leave and come back because I think there's, oh, sounds better now. How's that sound now?
It's good.
Okay. So the N word, let's put that on this. I think tokenism is a very real issue when it is used to blockade real progress. I want to say this very carefully because I've seen these people become international vice presidents and what have you. I have seen them bringing up these Africans that's on the board. They collect their check and so they don't push the union towards Black lives. They don't push the union towards anything. They just collect. They don't reach out to Richard Hooker when you got elected. How many blacks on that general executive board reached out to you and said,
the current GEB?
yeah.
Since we only got Floyd, no, nobody.
Right. When I came in, out of John Cleveland. John Cleveland had no power. In fact, if you read the biography of John Cleveland, he tells you, no, dead when it was done. His wife will tell that he had no power. That when he came to the meeting, the decisions were already made. You understand what I'm saying? So these guys, they just paintings, they just color, oh, we need to put some paint in here. They have no power. That's a token. You came to this power. You said, hey, listen, come down to Philly and let's have this in front of membership. No. But they go to the government. Okay? Now, there's a difference between the black in a space, right? So you can be only black on the swim team. You qualified, right? You're not a token. I'm about to go jump in this pool and execute and come back here with a medal, right? That's not a token. Someone out there, sole purpose of being, oh yes, we have black here, but that black has no power, no responsibility, no real equity. They're just there as a part of a picture. Sit here, shut up, and don't do it.
Yep.
And that's token. So you can't know people tokens. Ben Carson was a token. Clarence Thomas is a token. I call them that. Okay? Now, Marshall was not a token. See the difference? Yeah. Marshall was not a token. Okay? Dr. Martin Luther King was not a token. But there are people who try to find themselves under the civil rights umbrella who are still articulating for white supremacy. Right? So we have to be very careful because, at some point, if we ban words, we got to use another language. I don't know Swahili. So I'm done. Right?
Right.
We have had real tokenistic black in this union, and that's why, to some degree, we have made the advance we have had because they were in front who would not step up and argue and articulate for and be willing to give up a check for us.
I agree. So we got diversity, we got equity, but the last piece of it is inclusion. And to me, that is the blood, that's the heart that gives diversity is teeth. You know, you can't have to me, diversity is just numbers. Inclusion is the culture. All right. So and so what the Vanderbilt School is talking about here when it talked about inclusion, what it extends to the individual and past the individual, where the individual is from, the culture the individual is in, the community that the individual comes from. All that is a part of inclusion. And then it talks about, let me see, again, it goes over and over about the three terms: diversity, equity, inclusion. That's a recurring theme in their research. You know, to eradicate tokenism in our union, in our joint councils, in our locals, in our conferences, we got to make sure that we participate in true diversity, true inclusion, and true equity. Just can't be a name only. You know, the same rights that you have, you got to give them to the rights of the other leaders who don't look like you. Because I think when you have a more inclusive, diverse unit, the organization produces better. They engage better. You know, the participation is higher. I think there was a study that they did, I think, in their group, that the participation, the profitability, the organization was operating at a 19% more accurate ability, if you will, than a group that just all white or all male dominated. You know what I mean? So, and I hope the Teamsters, you're sideways now, Chris. There we go. And I hope the Teamsters will adopt this policy, because something that was said at that debate, with the tokenism, with the Black Lives Matter, with diversity, we can go back and forth. You know, was he wrong for saying it? Yeah. Just like O'Brien was wrong for saying, yeah, well, I have one Latino in my slate. They both were wrong, but you can tell that there's a problem. There is a problem with race and just tokenism in general in our organization. It is. And we need to fix it. So we can beat Steve up. We can beat O'Brien up all day long. But what are we going to do about it? How are we going to go from 33, 34 joint council presidents being one race and color, when we going to put 4 or 5 of them? When are we going to give these opportunities to these people? And when are we as Black people going to take the responsibility and run? When are we going to do that?
And also, again, right, this is a game. This is a game of power. Do you have the power? What happens to us? And I'm going to go back in a little time. A few years ago, assembled in New Orleans to have a discussion about us sticking together and moving as one muscle. By the time we left, that one person already bailed for the ship, right? We are interested in the white supremacy. We don't have faith in ourselves. So we don't believe that we could run for president. We don't believe that we can without the blessing of the white power structure that's here. So we're not going to go and challenge the council president because we worry that we're not going to drink it. We have to lose everything we have. We have to, because if you don't have the power, sitting at this board doesn't mean. And so over the of these things you hear me talk about, if you work the odds, then you should raise money for those Black you support the vermin, then you should be raising. One of the first tests of whether you have power or not, whether you can walk in the door with $80,000. Okay. Every black going back to 1991, not everyone, but maybe one or two, almost every one of them failed that test. Right? Almost every one of them had no history of revolutionary consciousness, of doing something not called for by the white of the Union. So we have been a part of our own demise because we can't stick together as black.
Yes, that is it right there.
I can't blame Burma. I can't blame these. We, as blacks, failed to stick together and do something as one collective.
Right. Hey, Chris, it's you breaking up really bad.
Let me see if I.
Can you guys hear me really clear, or is it just from Chris?
I'm going to try something else here right now. Let me see if this works better. Righty. Let me see. Better now?
But why you doing that?
Is that better?
That's better. That's better. But you know what, right, Chris, good. Before you continue, and I just want to put this out there since we're talking about race, and this is not to really bash any candidate. This is just a observation that we have when it comes to race and tokenism. I just want to put this out there to you guys here, just the people that's watching, and you too, Chris. Chris, I already know what you're going to say. Let's just say if Sean O'Brien and Steve Verma, if they were the same race and color as Richard Hooker and Chris Silvera, would they even be running for office with some of the things that have happened with the contracts, with the suspensions, with the, the other things that have been brought up between both? Would they even be able to run, because it's different. It's different when you're white and you do those things, and then when you're black and you do those things. Harvey Jackson, Al Mixon, all these guys are now. Harvey Jackson, he passed away, but before he passed away, he had a 3-year suspension. Al Mixon, they kicked him right on out, And so my thing is, and that's another thing when it comes to equal access, when we talk about equity, black principal officers or black officers in general cannot make the same mistakes a white principal officer can do. Put it to you like this: if I go to 623 on Tuesday, and man, I just start, man, I don't know, slapping around my folks, just busting them all up, whatever. They're gonna kick me out of the union. I'm not gonna get a 2-week suspension like Mr. O'Brien did. Roman Lois, if I take something from Greyhound or take something from UPS and all this stuff that he's done, they're not going to allow me to continue to do what I'm doing. They're just not, and I know that. So when it comes to equity and all these we are going to be left behind for whatever. Well, we all know the reason, but it shouldn't be. Listen, if you are wrong and the punishment is you get suspended or you get thrown out, then it should be that way for everybody. Whether you're white, woman, black, LGBTQ, no matter what it is. If you harm the members in a way and you get suspended for it, then it should be that way for everybody. Not just, we're going to give you a slap on the wrist because you're my boy. It shouldn't be that way. But how do we fix that? I think we have to have conversations like this, not just us two, but everybody, to say, hey, listen, it's a bad look. It's a bad representation. It's bad for the organization if we continue to operate like this. We can't continue to say, hey, Black guy, if you do this, you get thrown out. White guy, you're going to continue to your team's career and whatever. We have to make sure we do that. But I don't think the powers that be want to have that conversation. The reason why I don't think they want to have that conversation, because if you think about it, if you are more inclusive, then you may be fearful of losing your job. I don't want to give up my pension or my extra salary. If I include you in it, you may run against me one day. You may take that from me one day. And I think that's why a lot of it happens. Not the only reason, but I think that is part of the reason.
I don't believe that people run against people because they were included. I think people run against people because of greed. They think that they can get to something different. But let me just say this about this inclusion and what have you. At the end of the day, it's about power, right? And do you have the power? When you come into this room, I've been the only Black in so many rooms over my 30 plus years within this year Teamsters Union. I have never failed to bring the interest of Black Teamsters to the table, right? That's how we got $10,000 from the IBT to do the Million Worker March. That's how we got $10,000 from the IBT for the Million Worker March to do this work with the millions more in 2005. You have to bring your power to the table. Too many of us sit there and we just go along and get along and, oh yeah, because we are afraid. I've never been afraid. I was on Project Rise. If you go back and ask the guy that was running Project Rise, his name escapes me right now, he'll tell you, Chris was the guy that created the breakthrough. But I was also the guy that saw when Project Rise was going in a direction that I didn't think was kosher, that I raised my hand and I says, hey, listen, you need to do something about this, right? 20 odd years, what's it? This go back to 1990 now, 1989, 1990. So God knows what's it, 30 years now that we've been dealing with this here project, this here consent decree and whatnot. We really haven't gotten rid of the consent decree because we have this IIO, IRO, ILLO, whatever the hell it is, that is still treating us as if we are guilty by virtue of being a Teamster officer, right? We still don't have Blacks who are sitting on the general executive board. And I can tell you, Al Mixon squandered being the vice president. Ferline Bowie should never have been a vice president. They put her there because she was a woman who wasn't going to say squat. Okay? And that's the reality. She's a very nice woman, don't get me wrong. As a human being, she's a beautiful human being. I like Ferline. But Ferline ain't going up there raising no hell with Jimmy Hoffa. They not going to put Richard Hooker on nothing because Richard going to go in there and talk some smack. They not going to put Chris in there because Chris ain't going to rest, right? We have done the work. We have the vision. That's why if you look at the people that they appoint, there are people who really don't have a record of being in the street. When you call out and says, hey, the AFSCME is going to have a rally down here in D.C., I came down to the rally. When I thought about running for general president and I came down to your thing and you says, hey, speak to the, I never said nothing about running for nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I was there for. I'm there to support your endeavor to encourage your members to be more militant. You understand the point I'm saying? When I travel, when I bring up the Johnson brothers up in Rhode Island, I'm telling people, if you near Rhode Island, go over there and give some support to the brothers and sisters that are on strike at Johnson Brothers. He's running with O'Brien. I don't care.
I'm actually going up there. I'm actually going up there and send some money to the strike fund because again, I don't care who you're running with, man. We gotta fight these companies. We gotta fight these employers.
Right.
to
When you
me,
going up there, because I'll go with you.
it's probably going to be probably the third week because we don't have panel, but we don't have any cases at panel this week. So or this month. So I'm probably going to do it during that week, maybe like that Thursday or Friday.
Work
About
it out. Yeah.
Tavy sent me some information to get in contact with a guy that's running the strike line. So I'm gonna get in contact with him. But yeah, I'm going up there, man. Listen, a few months ago, I was down in up in New York City, helping, and supporting 804 guys because we dealing with the same thing here in our building.
Right.
So and again, that's the thing about I don't care enough about the politics to stop to what we are supposed to be doing, and that's fighting these employers.
Right. But they do.
Tooth and nail.
Because they would rather have a go-along guy than a good quarterback. We actually would rather to not win than bring a guy in who is an agitator, who might even piss you off too, right?
Mm-hmm.
We fear, every time this international has done anything that we could participate in this local 808, we did. My joint council, we did. But I've never been rewarded with anything at all, except to say, oh, Chris, he's always talking. Listen, none of them don't have the receipts I have. I don't care what their titles are. You understand what I'm saying? I took a local from ruin and put it on a good foot. They all took over locals that was already doing good. You understand what I'm saying? And so when you don't have those receipts, and if I need to be on my knees, I can't be a part of it. I can't be on your slate if I can't sit in here and talk smack all day long. I can't be here. The Teamsters take people to the NAACP convention pretty much every year. None of them are members of the NAACP. What are you taking them for? They can't participate. They can't agitate. You understand what I'm saying? So we had this march down in Washington, D.C. on the 28th. I didn't see them. None of them can show me no receipts from the different states they're in that they participated in anything dealing with voter suppression. Suppressing the votes of the very people who allowed you to protect your pension plans that you brag about. I did not see you there. I didn't see you there, And so for me, telling me I'm glad to hear the words come out their mouth, Black Lives Matter. But they just empty words until you have receipts that go with it. Telling me I'm invited to dinner and there's not a steak on my plate except everybody else got a steak. There's no potatoes on my plate, no vegetables on my plate, but everybody else got, and I don't have none. And there's some of us who will stay there so they can say they were at dinner. I'm not that guy. I'm going to grab somebody's plate and say, yo, you better go get another plate, brother, because I'm eating this goddamn steak right here. I'm hungry.
Right. Well, that's where the equity comes in at.
That's right.
Equal access.
But you can only do that when you have power.
Right.
They used to threaten me years ago, oh, we're going to merge your local. And I used to say, thank you, because I get to be the head of a bigger local, right? What do you mean? Well, my guys vote. So, when the elections start, I'm running against you. You ain't got to ask how this is going. You understand what I'm saying? There are people here that have been riding on BS for a long time. Blah, 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 blah. I don't see them in the streets. They only go to sanction and approve things. You understand the point I'm saying? We have to energize and generate momentum. I'm going to give you a funny story. One of the early Teamster Leadership Academies I went to, I saw some females and whatnot that were business agents for UPS. I was like, what? I never seen this before, right? They were out of local 63 in California. They already had that vision. See, these are people that are doing things organically. They didn't wait for something to be in the newspaper about inclusion and whatnot. They knew as trade unionists that they had to get the better people on board. They had to get the better people in if they wanted to keep their members mobilized, if they wanted to get the better contracts, if they wanted to win grievances. So they weren't afraid that, oh, well, she might run against me. She ain't running against you. She ain't running against you. She's going to be loyal. Because you as a leader have created an environment that allows her to flourish. She don't want to change that environment. You know, and this brother, Andy Kamak, let me tell you something, man. That guy got a beautiful local 63 out there in California, and I was proud to see what I saw that day. And so I keep looking for these people who just organically do things. Black Lives Matter is a fancy term that people use now. I wanted to know where you were with Black Lives Matter 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I want to know where you were with the women's movement 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when it wasn't fancy, when it wasn't a talking point.
Popular to say,
you understand?
right. When it wasn't popular to say, you know, man, that's some good stuff, man. I tell you. But there's 4 more points here that we were going to talk about this tokenism. So it creates an inaccurate sense of security to the leadership. Since the underrepresented person may not have enough voice to express their dissatisfaction, the leadership may not be aware that they may feel excluded. And with this false impression of security, it is easy to maintain the status quo and not make any positive change. And I think that's what you see again in this organization. We grab a couple of people just to try to suffice the I guess you can say that they're not a token, or we're trying to be diverse, but it gives a false sense of security for the leadership. Well, I got 2 women, I got 2 Latino, I got 2 blacks, I met my quota, we should be okay. Right? And I think that's not the recipe for ending tokenism and racism and racial inequality in our organization. If you're going to do it, you got to do it right. Make sure there's inclusion with your diversity. And something that you just said about, you know, leadership creating an environment for this type of change that we need against tokenism and racism. You know, which leader that we see currently out of the 2 candidates? I think it's an unfair question. So I'm not even going to ask that question. I think it's unfair because I was going to ask, you know, what leader do you see being more able to produce that atmospheric change that we need when it comes to that? I don't think that's fair to neither one of those guys. I don't think that's fair. That's fair.
Go back home, right? So what we're seeing is the individual at the car wash, and he's got his car, and he's vacuuming, and he's waxing, and he's polishing, and his rims look beautiful and everything like that. What does his home look like? His or her home? What's going on behind the scenes, right? So when you go back to the home local, what does the home local look like? And if the home local is not diverse, if the home local is not inclusive, if the home local is not mentoring people to come into positions of leadership, that's the real answer. Not this election. It's what's happening in the home local, because it is the locals where power rises from. Right?
That's true.
I'm going to say something. Dr. King, and I like this part because he used the term old guard. And old guard was a term that went back to 1991 Teamsters election, the first election we had, where they labeled people as the old guard. And he says, but in the tradition of the old guard, which dies but does not surrender. and this is white supremacy now, a new hastily constructed roadblock has appeared in the form of planned and institutionalized tokenism, right?
Mm.
There can be a real critique of a group that pretends that was me going on there, right? But this roadblock is institutionalized. Those people that sit on that board are never going to articulate for more women, never going to articulate for more Latinos, and not Latino for Latino's sake, right? You got to be able to play ball, right?
Right.
We don't want a Chinese or Japanese baseball player because he's Japanese. We want him because he can ball, right? We don't want a Jamaican soccer player if he can't ball. You understand what I'm saying? So you got to be able to play, because that's the real, and that's what I'm talking about, having power. When you come to the table, do you have power, right? These are all, you know, and I'm going back, I've been around a long time, so I remember when that GEB was all dons from different regions, if you will, right? They want no rank and file people on the board. These were all powerful people in their jurisdictions, right? Can you hold your own, right? You know, Local 743 used to be run by a guy named Don Peters. Don Peters was promoting blacks way back in the 60s and what have you. Clara Day, Bob Simpson, all these blacks that were brought up back when it wasn't a popular thing. Harold Gibbons in 688 in St. Louis was pulling in black business agents, black leadership in that local way back when, because those people were trade unionists. The trade unionist has to have a vision 20 years into the future. The trade unionist can't be thinking about today. The trade unionist has to see tomorrow, right? These people had that vision. When you went into the South, one of the things that Bob Simpson talked about was how blacks were faring well in the locals in the South, which you would think wouldn't be happening at that period of time, right? So when you come into the Northeast and whatnot, we tended to disappear. But some of it is, are we doing the things to bring up the next level of leadership as black leadership, right? Are we bringing up the next level behind us? As women, are you bringing up women to fill in these spots, right? We have to do these things, but then we got to find the players, because at the end of the day, we got to put a team together. Now, you could put a fake team that has people there, but they can't ball, or you could put a real team together. I'm going to put a real team together. So I'm going to put a white guy in there because he's good at that job. I'm going to put a woman in there because she's good at that job. I don't have no favorites. I don't, you know, all this here talk, listen, that's foolishness. I live my life. You understand the point I'm saying? So I know that this institutionalized tokenism has existed inside this union for years, right? And it started with John Cleveland, where they put TNBC. John Cleveland had nothing to do with the formation of TNBC. But when it came time to who was going to lead TNBC, the white aristocracy of this union told them all, it's going to be John Cleveland. And so be it, right? And they gave John Cleveland the trappings of power, but you just have to read the biography of John Cleveland to find out he had no power. John Cleveland was even afraid of being involved in the civil rights movement in the 60s. He thought they were like superhumans, right? So here it's, you know, so now we confront voter suppression and police brutality. Who's going to take the real lead? Let me tell you something. I hear them whiffle waffling about being in the AFL-CIO. Change to Win was BS on day one. And everybody that went to Change to Win that got in a sense went back to the AFL-CIO. The AFL is not perfect, don't get me wrong, but it is what it is, right? It's the one submarine we got. We need to be back in the AFL-CIO because everything we do. I went to a meeting at the IBT and they had everybody there had something to do with the AFL-CIO. And just as a lark, I jumped up and I said, change to win. And they were like, shh, Chris. Change to win was BS on day one. Stop it. We are going to go back. We should be going back in the AFL-CIO, paying our per capita. I heard Ken Hall, well, we don't want to pay that per capita. Hey, my members don't want to pay dues either. So what? Right? We need to be back in there. We need to join forces. And it can't be that just because we're the biggest, we get to lead it. No, you got to earn that. And a lot of the smaller internationals fear the domination of these large locals like Teamsters and SEIU and what have you like that they're going to get shut out the same way these white paper contract people feel shut out.
And I wanted to, that's a perfect segue. I wanted to talk about this real quick and get your thoughts on this. This election is heavily dominated by UPS. It's their largest contract, and I get it. You know, the 224 is horrible. That's a big thing. Oh, and somebody asked me a question. I believe, what's my man's name? Yesterday. Phil Roberts? Yeah, I believe it was Phil. And I want to, because Verma said something about the vote no movement being a farce. And I do want to address that because, listen, I was out there blowing my horn, telling everybody to vote no on this contract. So this is what I would say about that comment. The part where he says about playing politics with the contract, that is a farce. Because I remember, oh my God, my man from 174, I can't call his name. He would put out something about how he didn't like how Hicks, right? And I believe he's running. He didn't like the fact that politics was being played within that contract, and that Dennis Taylor was the only man who could do it. And now he's running. And listen, that's his right. He can run.
Flip-flopping.
But right. So my thing is that part is a farce. I don't think you should play politics with contracts. The only part I don't agree with that statement is it did engage a lot of people. It engaged a lot of members to get more involved in what was happening, because we did like 2 and 3 rallies for that contract, that 2018 contract, and it was very successful. We got our members involved. Listen, I wish people would vote, but man, that's another story for another day. But I think the part that is a farce is the totality of the vote no movement was not a farce. It was not, because it created engagement. It created more people to participate. The part that was jacked up was the politics that were being played during that. You know, that I didn't like. So that was my answer for that. But like you said too, I want to go back to the white paper part, because UPS dominates the conversation. 22/4s, pension contributions, you know, all that kind of stuff. 4-year progression, 2013, 2018, all that plays a big part in everybody's mind when it comes to voting. And I get it, you know, that's a big part. But Chris, I'm gonna ask you this. I'm gonna put it to you that like this. I come from a small local. I got a white paper contract. Even if I'm in a big local, but I have a white paper contract. I don't know Steve Verma. I don't know Mr. O'Brien. I don't know anything. I know I got to vote. I make good wages. I come to my union meetings. I don't know the candidates. I'm not in UPS, so the 22/4, I don't even know what that is. I don't even know what a 4-year progression is. I don't even know what that. I don't even know what I don't know none of that. But what I do know is I'm black. I'm a black male. I'm a black woman. I'm a white woman, and I want to know who to vote for. And again, I'm not a UPS worker. So what do? I look at the slates, and I'm a black man, and I feel marginalized because I don't see myself reflected in the leadership. Somebody tells me, hey, listen, if you vote for this certain slate, if you vote for the power slate, Every black person on the power slate has a voice at the table. That sounds good to me. If you look at the odds slate, I think, let me see. Yeah, Willie Ford is a trustee. So he doesn't have the ability to vote. So I can't make that same proclamation on the odds slate. Okay, let's say I'm a woman. I'm a white woman. I'm a black woman. There's 5 women running on the power slate. There's 2 women running on the odds slate. Now, every woman that's running, regardless of the position, will have the opportunity to vote at the GEB, right? Power slate, they're going to have double the voices that you would have. So now I'm looking at, okay, so here I am. This group seems to be more inclusive. I have more of a voice. Again, I'm from a white paper. I'm from a white paper contract. I don't know neither one of them. I don't know the issues that are going on in UPS. All I know is I make good money. I go to my union meetings. My contract is good. My pension is good. So what am I going to vote for? Now, so what do you think about that, Chris?
Right. So this is where symbolic and imagery plays into this whole role. You know, who has more women, who has so forth. The sad part is, and I've thought about this, how do we get the union to see, I even hate the term white paper contract, but to see these non-national agreements in a more important light? It's very difficult because they're all 10 guys here, 100 there, 50 there, and they're not all good. Some of them suck. How do we help boost them up, right? How do we, and that conversation is not happening, right? That conversation of talking to the smaller locals that have, 2,000 members, 1,500 members, that conversation, and the answer is not merging. Oh, we'll merge and get bigger. The answer is not having big locals. The answer is being able to help those locals produce a better outcome on behalf of their membership. Some of them like to just stay in the dark, collect their check and hide, and some of them like to generate steam. But we have to figure that out. I don't know what the answer is about that, but maybe there needs to be a white paper division in which we start to bring those forces together. And start to look at those contracts to see how we can help. And I'm going to go back and say this. We used to have a thing called conferences years ago, or 4 conferences. And inside those conferences, you had to deposit your contracts. So, because within the white paper industry, there's shared jurisdiction. Somebody over there with 10 trucks and some guy over here with 10 trucks. This guy's working for $20 and this guy's working for $30, right? And so the conferences used to analyze these contracts and says, hey man, you're substandard. You got to bring your standards up within the context of this territory because, you have the East, the West, the South, the North, Central. And I think we have to go back and recreate these conferences. And people talk about, oh, double salary, triple salary. I've never had the benefit of an extra check, certainly not for any period of time, and certainly not for one that was meaningful. But I'll say this. If it ain't going to make my dues go down, I really don't care what happens. What's important is the outcome to the membership, right? What do I mean by that? 1.4 million Teamsters. Of the 1.4 million Teamsters, maybe 20,000 are going to work for locals and joint councils and international and so forth like that, if it's that many, right? It might be less than, right? So 1,380,000 ain't never going to work for nothing. They're going to be driving a truck. They're going to be making a delivery. They're going to be mopping the floor. They're going to be pounding spikes on the railroad. The most important thing that we can do is to deliver a good contract. And people get caught up in, oh, he's got a second check and he's got a third check. And I think when you get to the third and fourth check, I becomes problematic. I really don't have a problem with the second check, but I think it becomes problematic when you're starting to get 3 and 4 checks, right? Because you can't do that much work. Just impossible. You're fronting. What you actually do is fronting somebody else's work, right? So somebody else is really doing the work at the international or whatever, but you're getting a check like you doing it when all you're doing is taking what they produce and reading it to me. So I think it's a little bullshit. And we could certainly use those resources in a much more meaningful way. I think we have to get into, no, not to the school bus people, don't get me wrong. But I think we have to get back to organizing in our core industries of trucking. I think we have to build up our strength inside the railroad industry because we influence commerce. I think we have to get into a meaningful struggle with the port trucking. I got some friends that are doing some grassroots stuff, but we need to enhance that. We need to bring that up here and across so that those people not just have some kind of an informal organizing, but they can really negotiate real pensions and real outcomes. And the people that are involved in those things, I need to get to them to say, hey, listen, we have these connections with this grassroots thing, you know what I'm saying? But that's going to be the real. Amazon, and they focus on Amazon, but let me tell you something, man. Walmart got a lot of truckers. J.B. Hunt got a lot of truckers. Werner got a lot of truckers. Schneider got a lot of truckers. So we really need to focus on those industries in which we have power. One of the things that James R. Hoffa, one of the reasons we went after him in a meaningful way, was because James R. Hoffa could stop America from running, right? And so we need to get to these port truckers, because when they come off of that ship, they go onto a truck or onto a rail car. We got the rail car part down because we have the brotherhood of locomotive engineers. But we have to get into a militant state to where these people understand when Teamsters say it stops, it stops. And all these little mom and pop trucking guys running up and down the highway acting like they own a business, you don't own squat. Right? And we need to either be able to corral them into some kind of an organization where we have some control, but we need to put ourselves in a position to stop commerce. Because let me tell you, look at this little pandemic, you see this, what they call it now, the moving stuff, they can't get parts for the cars and whatnot that's coming from a supply chain, right? We control the supply chain. If you look at a train traveling from east to west and see how many trucks are on that train, right? Moving from east to west, you realize that if the Teamsters shut down, America shuts down. If the longshore workers shut down, America shuts down, right? We still have meaningful power, but we need to start to focus on real organizing, the difficult organizing, which is at the ports, on these truckers that's running up and down the country, on these independent truckers, overnight, Walmart. We got to go after all of them. And you're going to need the combined weight. We're going to have to divvy up stuff so that different unions get a piece of the action. RSDWU gets some, United Food and Commercials gets some, and we're going to have to divvy up so we all can eat this big elephant that we have to go after, which is called capitalist America and its dominions in these corporations.
I agree. I agree. So on social media, I got to ask you how you feel about this. on social media, there was a call that Mr. Verma should apologize for that token word. Listen, I don't like it, but I would suggest that the powers that be, the people that came before him, O'Brien, him, all of them should apologize because it affects the whole organization. So just because he said it, which he shouldn't have said, but I would like to have all of them apologize. Hoffa, all of them apologize. Now, what do you think about this notion for him to apologize? Me, I think all of them should apologize. All of them.
But if I were Verma, I don't apologize for nothing I say if I mean it.
Mm-hmm.
If I call you a scumbag and I mean it, I ain't never gonna apologize. So I might tell you I should have used a different word, but it still comes back to the fact that you're a scumbag.
Right.
I might use a different term. The fact of the matter is, and is that there is such a thing as institutionalized tokenism, and it had been practiced at the IBT for quite a long time, starting back, like I said, back in '75 with John Cleveland, all the way up till now. And none of those people, like I said, when we had the 2 vice presidents there and we were about to lose, nobody spoke up. And I'm not talking about these white guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they
I know you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Doing that. The blacks that were there were silent. The blacks that were there said nothing at all, didn't corral people to say, hey, we need to talk to Jimmy Hoffa as a group and what have you like that. And I'm going to give you a little story. There was a gentleman that used to be the principal officer of Local 743 that was an international vice president. Very nice gentleman, good brother. So Jimmy Hoffa comes and says, hey, I got this black guy on my team. This is when he was running. I got this black guy running, and you should support. And I says, you don't have no black guys on your slate. And he goes, yes. Do you know, I tell you, old age is killing me in my memory. But he was the principal officer. Deb Simmons will know who it is. People know who it is. Somebody text me and tell me what his name was so I could get it to them. So anyway, I said, there are none. And he says, yes, I have this gentleman running, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, you don't. You have your guy. You don't have a black guy. He's your guy. He is a black guy when he comes from the Teamsters National Black Caucus. When we put him forward, then he's a black guy. When you're picking him, his name was Chester Glanton, right? And Chester Glanton was a good dude, don't get me wrong. Solid brother, love Chester Glanton, known him a long time, right? But you picked him. He's your guy. When we pick him, and that's the problem with these people. You're picking them. We're not sending them to you. You understand the point I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Their power source is not us, black Teamsters. Their power source is you. And that's the problem. You understand? So we want to see blacks in those positions who have real power, who have real a real linkage to the membership. And again, Dr. King talked about it. They're going through an airport and they see somebody black cleaning the bathrooms or whatever like that. They never stop and say hello. They look at them like they crap. And Dr. King talked about the fact that these black in these positions actually take on the aura of the white leadership. Here it is. Many of these white leaders, in order to maintain white supremacy, choose leaders who suffer from an aloofness, an absence of faith in their people. The white establishment is skilled in flattering and cultivating emerging leaders. It presses its own image on them. And finally, From imitation of manners, dress, and style of living, a deeper strain of corruption develops. This kind of Negro leader acquires the white man's contempt for the ordinary Negro. He is often more at home with the middle-class white than he is amongst his own people. His language changes, his location changes, his income changes, and ultimately he changes from a representative of the Negro to the white man into the white man's representative to the Negro. The tragedy is that too often he does not recognize what happened to him. Okay? So this is what I'm talking about. It's not that they're not nice people, it's that they no longer represent the interests of their people. They walk through that airport and pass a porter or whatever like that, and they don't even say hello as a trade unionist. You understand the point I'm saying? They sit on that airplane, that flight attendant come by, they don't identify themselves as a trade unionist. Hey, my sister, how are you? Are you with the Association of Flight Attendants? I'm Chris Silvera. I'm with the Teamsters. Pleased to meet my union sister. You understand what I'm saying? We're not making those decisions, you know. And there's something that was said that I really wanted to address. There is nothing in the world that cannot be critiqued. Certainly, that's man-made. We have to recognize that that UPS contract is one of the best, if not the best contract in this house that we call Teamsters, bar none, right? When we as rank and file members are in the street and we see a FedEx guy or we see an Amazon worker, are we saying, hey, brother, you need to join the union. Hey, sister, you need to join the... We have 300 and something thousand UPS workers who could be organizers, talking to these Amazon workers and saying, not crying about 224, 223, but talking about the other parts. We got here, yeah, we got split ends. I got split ends, but we still have here. You know what I'm saying? And we need to be saying, yo, you joining the union is going to allow me to eradicate the split ends. Because I'm going to say this 1,000 times. UPS is doing a work with a union on its back, with a union contract on its back, with a pension plan, with all of these additional costs. And in the horse racing industry, we'd call them handicaps, right? A handicap that Amazon doesn't have, a handicap that FedEx doesn't have. And I'm not going to suggest the answer, the immediate answer, but I'll say this. Until we organize FedEx and until we organize Walmart, you guys are a lonely beacon on the top of a hill that everybody wants to kill. And I'm going to remind people that before there used to be a thing called Railway Express. Before there was a UPS, there was a Railway Express. There was an Emery Air Freight. If people remember these companies, they're all gone. And UPS can go. So people need to be mindful that we have to have hard negotiations, and there might ever well be strikes. But to me, then the question is going to become, are people willing to make a sacrifice to terminate the part-time status of people so that they all become full-time workers? And are we going to create a system in which deliveries are being made on Sundays and Saturdays because dopey Teamsters and other union people need a pair of sneakers on Sunday? None of them playing tennis, none of them going to the US Open, none of them in the NBA, none of them actually need that sneakers that Sunday, but somebody says you do, Jeff Bezos, pay me Amazon Prime members to do this thing. And so we create the circumstance that's causing our dilemma, right? But let us be very appreciative of that contract that UPS, that Teamsters negotiated with UPS. Are there things to be fixed? Yes. Are there things that are problematic? Yes. But we are certainly better than the people at Walmart. We're better than the people at FedEx. We're better than almost everybody else in the country, save a few. And so we have to recognize we have those split ends, but some of that is not going to be cured unless we can create more organized labor in support of that. We losing, we not gaining. You understand what I'm saying? So when they go out, don't talk to the FedEx guy about what you don't like about the contract. Talk to the FedEx guy about what we all love about the contract: our wages, our pension, free health care. Do you know how many people have free? Well, it's not free. That's a bad phrase. Non-participatory health care benefits. So you know, let us not lose sight of this. Let us not lose the vision and focus on the split ends. You know, and not recognize that the rest of the contract is a good contract. You know, we have problems that need to be fixed, but
when we talk to Amazon workers here at 623, we always talk about the wages and the benefits, because when we always lead off, hey, listen, we are doing the same work that you're doing. There's no reason why you're getting paid $10, $15 less than what we're getting paid. And, you know, it's good. I just hope the IBT and locals, well, I would say not the IBT, the locals can come up with an individual strategy, because I think each region is going to be different. Like for our region, if you look at our general makeup that we found out at our Amazon workers, most of the workers are single African-American mothers. We've been doing some research on that. So when we put our team together, it's going to be, when we go in there to talk to them, it's going to be part-timers, African-American females who are single mothers, because they have the same relationship. You know, I'm gonna talk to them, but they're gonna be able to talk to me from a position and a culture that I don't identify with. And right. And so and it's been it's been good. Got a lot of feedback, a lot of positive feedback, because some of our members, actually part-time females, work at Amazon right now, and they give us a lot of feedback. So it's good. And so I'm hoping that, you know, whatever local strategy, you know, this is what we do here. But I'm hoping that we can do this in help with whatever the IBT decides to do. Whoever the Amazon, I believe right now, was Randy Corrigan.
Yeah.
Whatever his game plan is, you know, hopefully all of us can sit down and talk about what's been effective in our area.
Right.
Because man, this Amazon is a beast, man.
But there's a young lady here in the East that will come to your local union and talk to your stewards and your members to turn them into
well, we thought, yeah, we know we had a couple of meetings with her.
Yeah.
I've actually been on a couple of Zoom calls with her and the team about trying to get this thing up and running. This is a slow process. But I get it, because this is such a big, you know, monster. And again, we've had some good headway in it. And whenever we can really start throwing dollars at it, I think it would be really good.
Right. So if you saw from the convention, right, they brought speakers from different countries that are dealing with Amazon. So what we find with Amazon is that globally, Amazon is a low-wage employer, right? In France and in Italy and different countries, which actually have very strong labor laws.
Yeah.
Right? So it just shows you how powerful this company is. And it's going to be a global takedown of Amazon. It ain't going to be national. It's going to be international. And when we choke the head, somebody's choking the midsection, the groin area, and there'll be somebody else sticking something up their tail, and there'll be somebody else squeezing off the blood supply at their ankles, because it's going to take that type of an effort to bring this behemoth down, right? But it's doable if we all participate, you know. So, but I just want to touch on something, and I tell them, don't get caught up in this here tokenism, non-tokenism. That ain't doing nothing for your contract. That ain't putting no money in your pocket, ain't taking no money out of your pocket. You need to focus on what people have done. The people have records of accomplishment. So people need to go and look at these people's records of accomplishment. Like I said, I don't care how many blacks you got on your slate and what have you like that. I'm going to look in your home. I want to see your kitchen. I want to see your living room. I want to see if you're keeping your kitchen clean. You know, do you have that type of inclusion in your home, in your local union? If you don't have it, don't tell me what you got for the IBT, because I know that if your home ain't correct, you ain't correct.
I agree too. I agree. Everything starts at the house. Like that preacher said, I'll never forget it, man. Before your child gets to school, he acts out at school. He or she acts out at school. Boom, 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 boom. You want to go out there, act a fool. But before he gets to the teacher, he got to leave you. And whatever you're doing at home is a reflection of when you outside of your home. And you're right. We do got to pay attention to that concept of what's going on at these people's houses. You know, I agree with that.
And
I agree with that.
Receipts. We want blacks there that have a history of doing stuff, of participating in movements that weren't necessarily popular with the mainstream. You know, Black Lives Matter wasn't popular with the mainstream. You know, the marches against police brutality weren't popular with the mainstream. You know, so don't come and tell me that you love Black Lives Matter when you don't have a program that is going to bring more blacks into the construction industry, bring more blacks into the movie industry, bring more blacks into these various industries that are very lucrative, but very shallow on black participation. That's the real work right there. Having 20 blacks on the general executive board and none in the movie industry ain't good business. Having 20 blacks on the general executive board and none in the construction industry ain't good business. Right. And I'm going to say something here. I think we have to talk about some people on a very individual basis to show some things. There's a sister on the Oz slate, Lindsay Doherty. Lindsay Doherty was very instrumental in getting blacks onto her local's executive board and having them become business agents. You understand the point I'm saying? So I just want to say, so a lot of times, I don't know how she ends up on that group right there, but, it is what it is. I mean, the left, the right, whatever. But Lindsay's good people. And I think I always wanted to point that out, that she was a sister that has a few receipts that she could say she has done some things. I could tell you Bernadette Kelly from the other slate. I mean, that's a sister with receipts. She has done some things, you know what I'm saying? So I don't want people just to focus on black and white and whatever. You want to focus on character. What's that person's character? What receipts do they have of working the system to create greater and greater inclusion? And I just wanted to highlight those two people as being people that were along that path. You know what I'm saying, of doing real work and creating inclusion and so forth like that. So those are just some of the people that, I don't know her like some people do, but I've marched with her. She's always at the Martin Luther King parade, and when the TNBC has their thing in LA, she's always there. And so she's always participated. And I know, because I know the people that she has brought up. I know them personally. So, I just wanted to give her some props from that slate as somebody that I can say is doing real things, and I don't think they should be over there, but, it is what it is,
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
people people I see that you tell me you're going to work with Trump, I'm going to bring him around. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? They hard fought. Like I say, I'm going to your house and look in your living room. When you're watching the Super Bowl, you got the black friends watching the Super Bowl with you. Oh, you don't? Oh, I got you. You know what I'm saying? When you had your daughter's wedding, did you have any black guests at your daughter's wedding? Oh, you didn't have any. Oh, I got you. I don't want to hear this crap. You know what I'm saying? There's a real world, you know what I'm saying? And the IEP ain't the real world. The local unions are the real world.
That's the real world, yeah. I agree with that. And I'm finding that out. I'm finding that out in my 20 months of being in office that, a lot of things that I thought were happening at the IBT level when I was a rank and file shop steward, I really thought that the IBT was this great, big, old, powerful, boom, 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 boom. But it's not, man. The power is in the locals. The power is in the people. And one of the things, that's why I get so frustrated whenever I hear this phrase right here. And every other day, because I heard it Thursday after the debate, because the whole token word, and they were like, hey, Hooker, Verma used token. He think you were token. Surely you can't still support him. Listen, you might as well go ahead on and support O'Brien and this, and this. And then it was like, if you don't support O'Brien, your members are going to be left out in the cold. You're not going to be able to get this. You're not going to be able to get that done. And that's one of the most frustrating things to me. I keep hearing it, because if that's your way of selling me you're a leader, if I don't support them politically, then they're not going to do this for the membership, then that's not a way to gain my support. Because whether or not I support you politically, you have an obligation, number one, to the membership, but number two, to the per capita that we pay. Man, I'm paying like $50,000 and $60,000 a month in per capita, along with $2,500 to the joint council, along with another $3,000 to the conference. So rather than not I support you politically, you're going to do what we need you to do because that money is attached to it. Rather than not I put an X by your name or not, you're gonna do what you're supposed to do. We're gonna make sure of that.
But just think of the conversation, right? Just think of this conversation. Somebody saying to you what you're going to lose by not supporting somebody. That person doesn't even realize what that conversation really sounds like. You're talking about the same thing. So I'm going to intimidate you to support me. You don't support me, there's going to be repercussions. Whoa. Anybody remember the democracy thing? That I have the free right to vote for who I want to without any repercussions? Because if there's repercussions, then it's not a democracy. And people need to understand that, and I've heard that conversation numerous times, and it's always coming from the O'Brien side. Well, if you're not down with these guys, then you ain't going to get nothing. I don't need nothing. Hold that in your goddamn pipe and smoke it, because local 808 can handle its own business. And if you want to help me, fine. If you don't want to help me, let me tell you something. We keep swimming. You understand what I'm saying? We ain't scared of none of that. This is the kind of mindset that's unhealthy in the union. This mindset of believing that I have to bow down to any one particular. No, the locals created the international, not the other way around. We control you. And I'm telling you, because when they went to this here percentage dues, it started to flip the power structure, because the international now automatically gets money, whether they earned it or not, right? So every time I negotiate a contract and I get a wage increase, my per capita automatically increases to them, even though they didn't do nothing to help me, right? So years before that, it used to be a fixed number, $3.48 or whatever it was. And do they need an increase? Yes, they need an increase. But now you got to come to the locals with a program, kiss everybody's ring, right? And then you get what you want. Now they don't need the locals anymore. So there's the international floating around up here, and then there's the locals down here, and there's a disconnect. You understand what I'm saying?
It is.
They don't have to come and talk. They don't have to be subservient to the locals the way they used to be. So the locals have lost juice because of how they have flipped the script with that dues increase, with the change in the Constitution. But that's what happened when you put a lawyer in power, you know, and not a truck driver. See, when you had a truck driver, he wanted the members to vote on the dues increase. When you put a lawyer in there, he rewrites the script, and that's the end of the game right there. It's all over. But that's when the locals started to lose their power, and the international became its own distinct ship. They like
Right. You know, and that's one of the things. That's one of the things that always bother me about this. I mean, you know, we can agree to disagree on whether to vote for Vermin, whether to vote for O'Brien or not, man. But one of the things I really hate is when I hear, Hooker, if you don't vote for this certain person, you're leaving your membership out, and you know you're gonna be isolated, and you're gonna be this, and you're not going to get this. And he even told me, man, that next year when we run for office, that, you know, and I know it's a rumor, but this is the stuff that they say, man. When you guys run for office, man, I just want to make sure that everything is all right, man, because you know these guys may be supporting them and may throw them some money. And my response was, I don't care who runs. You have that right to run. But you know, our record, right, will speak for itself. The stuff that we've done will speak for itself. I don't care who runs. It's not me being cocky or arrogant. I just know the work. We show up every day. We in our buildings every day, sometimes 3 and 4 times a day. We bring our people back to work. The money is grown just tremendously. We don't spend people money. And when we do spend it, we reinvest it back into the membership like you're supposed to do. So, you know, I'm not worried about it. You know, anything could happen. But when they say, well, Hooker, the election is next year, and that group may support the group against you, that's fine and good. That's fine. That's their right to run. We're not worried or scared because we know our record speaks for itself. So, you know, but I just hate that. I just hate the politics of it all. If you don't do this, if you don't support us, you're not going to get what you need. I don't like that.
So the very big shame in all of this is the notion that a local or the international, and this is I'm not going to say it never happened before, but this certainly became very popular and common in the James P. Hoffa era, in which locals or the international felt comfortable in you know, involving itself in local union elections and what have you. And it's a shame because we didn't create the international to get involved in the affairs of the local union. And I'm just hoping that members are going to recognize and realize that the local union is their heart, right? And that if I'm doing the work, judge me by the work. Don't worry about what Sean O'Brien thinks or what Verma thinks. Look at what Richard Hooker is doing and the work that we have done here. And if you appreciate that, then you return Richard Hooker to power. And that's what I got elected every 3 years. So I've never thought that I was elected king or emperor or anything
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's 3 years at a time, no different than a ball player on an athletic team. You know what I'm saying? The boss might cut me at any time, the boss being the members, right? You know, so members say, hey, Chris, you gonna run again? I said, yeah, I'm gonna run again, you know. Maybe you elect me, maybe you don't. You know what I'm saying? But that's your decision to make. And I hope that these candidates are going to realize that regardless of what side of the fence we fall on, that we are the type of leaders that they actually need to engage with and have involved in the future of this union. Because what you're doing with this here Facebook Live on Sunday, nobody else is doing this kind of stuff. And we are, and you are the type of leadership. I'm 66 years old. I mean, if you want to ask me a question, I'll give you an answer. But I ain't gonna be flip-flopping all over the country like Kerbine and them. That, you know what I mean? They young bucks. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
but you are. And you, Chris Williamson, another stand-up dude that you can't put the label of token on. I'm not going to discuss it here because I don't want to, he knows and I know, and the people who know. That's a stand-up brother right there. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm going to do another thing too, just as a sidebar, is when local unions punish people for not towing the line, right? So like you have the women's conference, you have the Black Caucus, you got the Latino conference, Hispanic conference, and what have you like that. When you don't send people who you know to be real grassroots leaders, and you're not sending them to these conferences because you don't like them, you actually see. I like that agitation because that agitation keeps me sharp.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
understand? Because if you don't have that agitation, you're going to fall asleep. You understand what I'm saying? So I like when my members, I go out, man, and, it takes a little warming up to. It's almost like a fight. The first round is kind of like a sparring thing like that. And then you kind of get into the fight. And I like when my members grill me that way and push me. And I remember one time I was crying to a bunch of them. I said, I know you guys don't like me. And the guy says, Chris, who the hell you think voting for you? So don't take this personal. We agitating for what we want as members. So don't take that. And those are things you learn early in your career, so that when you recognize that it's not that they don't like you, but they're agitating for what they want. I elected you to run the local, but that didn't leave you to just do what you want.
You got to do what we want. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we got to get back to members and get back to loving our members, get back to enjoying the grilling that our members put us through. And I hope at the women's conference that they're going to allow these women, they shouldn't even have no men asking no questions at this here conference, because the women need to be heard. You understand what I'm saying? And they need to have women asking organic questions, not some made up question that you came prepared with, but having these women asking these leaders real questions. You understand what I'm saying? And having them answer those questions on the fly. That's what I had hoped to see in Philly on July the 4th. It didn't happen, but I hope it happens at the women's conference. And unfortunately, it seems that we have to have the government make people show up to things, so sometimes it makes me wonder, where is your loyalty with the government, or your loyalty is with the rank and file? Because when the rank and file call you, you're supposed to come. You know what I'm saying? I never asked nobody, when we were doing the thing in Philly for the AFSCME guys like that, yo, listen, we need to build a fortress that's the Northeast, from Maine to South Carolina, when we need help. So when you're going to go up to, because I plan on going up there myself, but it'd be nice for us to go.
Okay, together, it's probably be in a couple weeks. I'll call you and let you know. We'll ride up there, man, and meet up there. It'd be good.
Yeah, we ride together, you know what I'm saying? Because, I support those guys if they, I wish somebody pick up a phone and say, hey, I need $100 or I need a bottle of water or something that we could help them with, you know what I'm saying? 251 is a nice local. They got good things. They probably don't need to, because I go back as far back with a guy named Stu Mundy, who used to be the head of that local back in the day. And Stu, I love that brother to this day. He was a real good union brother, you know what I'm saying, like that. And I got nothing but man love for him. And I know that local is coming up the right way. So, whatever we could do to help them, we'll do that. Let's make that happen together.
We will. So in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna probably reach out to, I think his name is Rob. I'll reach out to him on Tuesday and see when can we come, and whatever the case may be, and then we'll just ride on up there.
Yeah.
They'll be good. Because again, listen, I don't care what I don't care your slate. I don't care what position. When it comes to fighting these companies, all that stuff go out the window. I never, you know, I really didn't really understand how the political process worked until this IBT election. I really thought that we really was trying to fight for people and the betterment of their lives and all that kind of stuff. I didn't know that there was like a hidden agenda behind it until this IBT election kicked off, sitting on this side of the river. You know, when I was, prior to 2020, I just thought, people running for office, they're running for the right reasons, boom, 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 boom. Man, listen, you get on this side, man, it's totally different. And not all people, I think a lot of people are running for the right reason. And there's some people who I think are running for the wrong reason.
I don't think they go to be for the wrong reason. We have a society that confuses us. And if you're not going to ground yourself in trade unionism, and if you're going to think this is, it's like I heard him say, I am. He wants to run for higher office because he's looking to move up and what have you and all this kind of stuff like that. Well, I'm not sure that that's sufficient to be the leader. You know what I'm saying? Some people are reluctant. I am a reluctant leader. I'm reluctantly the head of local 808. I never set out to be the head of 808. I never wanted to be. I never wanted to be the head of the Black Caucus. I was one of them reluctant guys that got drafted into something. So sometimes people think, well, I like to move ahead in life and what have you like that. I actually regret and saw where I lost from not being a steward. And I thought my best moments were when I've done some things here, but I really, that connection that you have with the membership as a steward, it is a priceless position. And I want to big up all the stewards that are watching here because
absolutely, yeah,
so caught up in these elections and what have you, and we forget that without you, we really don't have too much, because the steward really determines the quality of the stewardship, determines the quality of that local union. And
right, I agree.
I just wanted to give recognition here Sunday morning.
That's right. Big shout out to all the stewards who are gonna be watching this now.
Yeah,
you guys. We always give our stewards a lot of praise. Every meeting we have, we actually had our first ever shop steward banquet for our stewards last year, and we're going to do it again this year because they do a great job for us, man. They really do. And speaking of the women conference, everybody is watching this and everybody's going to watch it later. If you're going out there, make sure that you stop by and see Dr. Robin Cooper. She's going to be doing a class out there for our women, and I think it's going to bless you real good. I'm not going to tell you the title because if I tell you the title, you might not show up. So make sure you go, with an open mind, and it's going to be real good. If anybody knows Dr. Cooper, man, she's highly intelligent, intellectual.
No doubt.
She's great. So please, if you're out there, go to her class, Dr. Robin Cooper. Make sure you go out to her class.
Well, let me just give them a piece because I want to tell them to pass by the Teamsters National Black Caucus booth. They got a booth at the Women's Conference, and you're going to be able to purchase a book called Mobilizing in Our Own Name, which chronicles the role of Black trade unionists in building a movement which actually created some good outcomes and what have you in terms of fighting against police brutality, fighting against the oppression of Palestinian people, and so forth like that. So I just want to, and people need to understand that when you see this violence being heaped upon these Palestinian people, think back to Ferguson, think back to Oscar Grant, think back to, Ahmaud Arbery. These are our brothers. They're human beings. They're not animals, And when I hit you with a slingshot, if you hit me back with an AK-47, that's kind of a very overreaction to a dilemma, you know. So one guy has some Mickey Mouse rockets or whatever he's got. The other guy's got manufactured F-16s from the great war machine called America. But these are signs that impact the working class, because you need this exploitation of these people. There is no place that they have over there independently. Every dollar, everything got to run through Israel, so they don't have no country. And the same way that formerly enslaved Africans have learned to live in peace here in America, albeit with a lot of stress, they should be able to have one country and be able to live with a certain amount of stress, the same way we do, and be able to participate the same way we do, so we can get over, that might not be a proper term, but if we have been able to not be defeated by the enslavement and Jim Crowism and police brutality and what we see going on here with voter suppression, if we can fight through all of that, then certainly those that call the state of Israel, they need to be able to fight through all of that with their Palestinian cousins and what have you. And I just want to speak on that, because it is bad when human beings, forget religion and all of this, when human beings can live together. Lions can live together. See, lions don't have no politics coming between them to the point where they can't hunt together on the Great Plains of Africa. So, you know, they should be able to do the same thing.
Yep. So before we close, I really want to talk about this voting. We need everybody to vote. The ballots go out October the 4th. They're going to be counted on November the 15th. It is imperative that you vote. We can talk about tokenism, racism, the fact that there's only one joint council president that's African American. We can talk about out of 400 and plus locals, there's only 21, this, that, and the other. We can talk about Verma saying that the token. We can talk about O'Brien saying I have one Latino. We can do all of that. But if the members don't vote, everybody loses. The companies will continue to win. We have 1.3, 1.4 million Teamsters. And we have a dire problem when it comes to voting. I was talking with someone about this earlier today before the show, that we just have an issue when it comes to voting. And we need to come up with ways that we can engage our members and tell them the importance of voting. Here at 623, one of the things I did was in our newsletter that we sent out, we on a front page, your ballot will be here. You should be getting your ballot October the 4th. It's going to be counted November the 15th. As soon as you get it, it's not about, hey, this is what we're doing at 623. It's not about what this, it ain't about the money. Listen, when you get that newsletter from 623, the first thing you're going to see is about the International Brotherhood of Teamsters election. We need everybody to vote. I'm not going to sit on here and tell you that if you vote for Verma, you're a bad person. If you vote for O'Brien, you're a bad person. If you vote for Verma, you're a good person. If you vote for O'Brien, you're a good person. Vote. We need to vote. The true power comes from our voice and how we use it, not from the person who's in the marble palace. It comes from the people who vote. If we don't vote and you get your candidate in there and win, we still gonna lose. We're still gonna lose because you didn't vote. We need everybody to vote, because I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When 2023 comes, I want the company to realize finally that the members are ready for war. I don't want it to just be lip service. I want them to know that, man, if we don't do something now, we may be on the street. Not because of who's in office, but because how the members voted for to put the person in office. All right, that's the main thing. You know, anywhere there's people, there's power. That's where we need to exercise. We gotta exercise our right to vote. So please, I want Carol Tomei, Jeff Bezos, the Walton brothers and sisters, and everybody else in between to have fear of the membership of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. I want them to know that we coming. I want whoever is elected to know that if they don't do the right thing, we coming too. You know, I want them to know that. But it starts right here, like you said, it starts at the locals. I know we're telling our people there's an election. We send it out in our newsletters. We talk about it. We talk about it in our meetings to get the people to vote. That's why we wanted to have that debate here, so people could understand that this is important. Please, everybody that's on here, I see we got people from Local 25. We got people on here from 804, 63, 743, 808, 623. Tell your co-workers the importance of voting. Please, we have to send a message to not only the companies, not only to our political enemies or friends, but to the people and the person who will lead this organization. We need to send them a message that if they screw up, that's it. It ain't gonna be no, forgiveness. We coming for that job because it belongs to the people. The Marble Palace belongs to the people. That position belongs to the people. My position belongs to the people. We need to make sure that the people get what they, work for. So, Chris, what you got in closing?
Well, I said so you had a mic drop moment right there. So I don't want to go too much past that. And I just wanted to reiterate the mic drop moment, which is that turnout is a message to all of the employers of the demands of the workers. And I don't think that, because if you just listen to the debate, they were in agreement on pretty much everything. You can't be in this business and not want a good contract. You can't be in this business and not want to have good enforcement of those contracts. So put those things on the side. So now it's really about character and whatnot. But those people need a mandate. And the mandate is not the division of who got more votes than who. The mandate is the turnout that the giant, this Teamsters, this million Teamsters that have never voted are waking up and have woken up, because that's going to tell every employer. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of the story before we go. There was a local 584, there were milk guys. And Willie Whalen was able, I think it was every month, to have his members vote a $100 a week assessment to support some other workers that were on strike at another dairy. That's the type of leadership we need. That's the type of connectivity that we need. So I'm telling you that we need this vote to come out to, one, tell Verma / O'Brien, you have the support of the masses, of the majority, not the majority of the minority, but the majority of the majority. You have that support. And that's going to be a very big message. Secondly, it is going to tell all these companies, not UPS, it's going to tell every company, every railroad, every big shop that's running around here that this union is new, bad, and ready to go to war. So absolutely, get that ballot out October the 4th. Don't put it on no refrigerator. As soon as it hit your hand, flip it around and turn it back into the street.
So the next debate is September the 14th in Las Vegas at the Women's Conference. Please, if you can tune in, watch that. Again, if you're going out there, please attend Dr. Cooper's class. Then the last debate, and for the first time ever, is going to be between both General Secretary Treasurer candidates, Fred Zuckerman and Ron Herrera. That should be a good one. A lot has happened in this first debate, and it opened up some opportunities for us to be engaged. And I hope that we can continue this, and whoever wins can talk about improving the racial inequality and the tokenism piece that has plagued our organization for decades. And me and Greg and who was that, Donald And David had did a piece earlier this morning about what we would like to see from whoever wins. You know, a program where it talks about going into the communities and going into these areas where our members work at and uplifting them, and a plan to engage and educate all of our members, because our members are getting younger and younger. And
Yeah,
we who never been in the union, who come from a place
mm,
where there hasn't been talked about in school, talked about in
that's right.
family, and in order to grow this organization, we need to have those conversations. So
Yeah,
I'm hoping that whoever wins has that capacity, and also, we need to put together some type of petition or something to make sure on September 14th that they have some questions for some Teamsters. Now, if they want to keep Miss Lisa Matthews, okay, I get that, moderator, but please get some questions from some real rank and file Teamsters, because we are the ones who have to live by the contract.
right.
Nobody on that panel has to live by anything
That's,
that the candidates were talking about.
but see, what I don't like, when you send in your question, they get to pick which ones they ask the candidates, and that's what I don't.
Yeah, man.
I want
Right.
them to set up a microphone, one, two, three microphones, and have rank and file members walk up to that microphone and ask any
Yeah, I agree.
dopey question to their mind about what it is,
So
because you know,
right. So whoever is in charge of the women's conference, if you can get that, I like that idea, Chris. Set up some
yeah,
microphones in the auditorium, and hey, listen, we go up to the mic. Boom. Hey, what you gonna do about this? Boom. What you gonna do about that? What's your feelings about this? I think that's a great way to do it. I hope that works out, man, because that's what we need. That I understand why they did it, man, but no Teamster was up there asked the question. None of them were
none.
Teamsters. None of them.
And they
You
and
know.
they and
So
they also parsed through which questions would be allowed to be asked that came from the membership. See,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
don't want that. I want the member to have the right to stand up there, speak in their own voice, and ask the question that's on their mind, because that's going to
Mm-hmm.
allow the white paper contract people to get questions in that they're not going to get anywhere else, because for no fault of their own, UPS is the dominant singular group in the House. So they're
Yeah,
always
yeah,
going to be
yeah,
chime. But this is going to
yeah.
allow rank
Yep.
and file members to ask what's of concern, women, Latinos, blah, 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 to ask the question that's on their mind. And it ain't going to be about tokenism. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. You know it's not. You know it's not. So another 2 weeks, Chris. We'll do this again.
All right, brother
We'll
man.
we'll talk about and discuss. We'll talk about and discuss the that debate that's happening on the September the 14th, and we'll talk about that and see. Hopefully, we don't have we won't have something crazy like what happened at this first debate. Hopefully, we get more into the meat of the matter from the Teamsters members. Hopefully, we do.
Right, right.
Yep. So again,
All right, brother.
appreciate you, Chris. See you in a couple weeks.
What you do, man.
All right, you as well.
Teamsters, enjoy Labor Day weekend. Y'all have a good time. Be safe. Wear a mask when you get out there. And I hate to tell you this, but get vaccinated.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I agree. All right, good brother.
All right, now be well.
Yep, you as well. All right, good people. We're gonna get out of here again. September the 14th at the Women's Conference is going to be another debate between the candidates for General President, Mr. Steve Verma and Mr. Sean O'Brien. The first one, it opened up some things that we were able to talk about today, and I'm hoping that we can, whoever wins this election, we can address this issue, because it was a big issue, something that I didn't even think was going to be talked about at the debate about race and diversity. Those things are not popular, especially when you have two white candidates, and no fault of their own, no fault of their own at all. Some of that stuff I think was unfair, and that's why I think was cringeworthy when they both said Black Lives Matter.
Again, no fault to their own. I don't think they really understand what that means, because it's a culture change. Because I'll never forget, I saw this interview with Denzel Washington to put it into perspective. He said somebody asked him about a movie about race, and even in the movies, he said, "Well, it's not a racist culture, so to speak." He said Steven Spielberg directed Schindler's List. Martin Scorsese directed Goodfellas. Now he said Steven Spielberg probably could have directed Goodfellas, but it's a cultural difference. It's a cultural difference in those two directors and in those movies that you're not going to get the authentic version of the movie. And that's what I think that we need to do as Teamsters. We need to be an authentic version of ourselves. We are changing. We are more diverse. We have a lot of women coming up, and that needs to be reflective in our leadership, from the local level all the way up through the GEB. So again, it was a great discussion. Glad. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We're gonna be sharing it everywhere. September 14th, Las Vegas, Nevada. The Women's Conference will be having another debate out there. So please, Dr. Cooper, please, she's going to be out there. Join her class. It's going to be really, really good. And again, the last debate will be September 29th, just about a week prior to the ballots coming out. And listen, guys, we have to vote. We have to vote. Whatever your candidate, whatever your slate, please vote. We need to show power to everybody, not just these employees, but we need to show power to ourselves. Please vote, 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 vote. And I'm going to say this before I get off the air. I would rather have 1 million plus members vote and my candidate lose than to have 100, 200,000 members vote and my candidate wins. Because the power is in the people, not in the leader. Generals don't win wars. Soldiers do. All right. So we're going to get out of here. God bless. We love you. Appreciate you. God bless. We see you in two weeks.